Hi there everyone, this is Mick Young going live in the Proof of Life After Death group, and today I'm going to be talking about what exactly the process is that happens with the soul and the spirit when we die, and how and why our loved ones actually need our support in the afterlife. Now that's a controversial topic, I realize, but that's what I'm going to be diving into today. And just before I get started, I always like to say I'm not here trying to convince you of my opinion. I'm not here trying to say, I've got it all right and you haven't, or anything like that. I'm just here to offer some thoughts and ideas and concepts that might be able to help you with your connection with your loved one, with your connection with your spiritual self, and with really understanding in depth and in concrete details the process that the soul and the spirit go through after death, getting a better idea of that, which can actually help with the grieving process as well, because I know a lot of people in here in this group are actually experiencing grief, have experienced grief in the past, or have been through traumatic experiences around death. So welcome everyone who's tuned in live. I can see Karen's there. Hi Karen, welcome. And Faith, thanks for your comments. It's really great actually. The more comments we get and the more hearts and thumbs and things like that, then the more people can come in and see that something's actually going on here. So that's really helpful. Thank you. And Natasha's there as well. So Natasha's a long time supporter and actually a subscriber too. I think Natasha, who actually contributes a certain amount to me each month to help me continue my work. So big thank you to you, Natasha, for being there. Charlotte's there as well. Hi, welcome Charlotte. Thank you. So whether you're here watching live or whether you're watching the replay later on, just want to say a warm welcome. Can you just tell me in the comments, can you just see me and hear me okay? I just realized that my blinds are down to how bright the screen is and all that sort of stuff, but just let me know. You don't have to tell me if I look good or anything like that. It's just to mean you can see me, you can hear me, all that stuff. So, and Guri's there as well. Guri from Norway. I'm pronouncing it with probably a German accent because I speak German, but I think, not sure if we've got that right. Okay, looks like people can hear me and see me okay. Jacqueline says yes. Charlotte's there as well. Faith says yes. Sophie, welcome. Okay, nice to see some good amount of people in here watching live. So this isn't going to be a very long video. I'm going to give a very brief overview of the process that we pass through when we die, and hopefully give you a little bit of an understanding, and maybe some of you have certain understandings about this as well, and hopefully this will just give your ideas a bit of a framework, not necessarily challenge your ideas, but maybe give them a little bit of a framework with which to work in to help make sense of them. So the first thing we're going to talk about is that the human being can be looked at in many different ways, but one way to look at the human being is the way Rudolf Steiner talked about it, and he was someone who was what you might say a very, very highly advanced clairvoyant, but also very logical, practical person, and also a very good thinker. So a philosopher, someone who was very grounded, but also very spiritually evolved or advanced, you might say. And he could sort of see these things very, very clearly and precisely, almost in a scientific way. And one way he talked about looking at the human being is to look at the human being in a fourfold way. So, sometimes we hear about the threefold human being in terms of soul, spirit, and body. And this is sort of an even more in-depth way of looking at the human being. He goes even further and has other different ways of looking at it. So this is just coming from one particular angle. So the fourfold human being is made up of physical, so the physical body, which we're all familiar with, this material part of us that we can touch and feel and see and all that stuff. We have then what is often referred to as the etheric body or the life force body. And when I say the word body in this context, it's just, in a way, it's a euphemism because it's not a physical thing. It's when we say etheric body, but we're using the body in a figurative, the word body in a figurative way. So we've got the physical body, the etheric body, which is the life force aspect of us. And one good way to sort of work this out, or to put this into context, is the physical body. We also, the mineral kingdom on earth has a physical body. You know, we can see it, we can touch it, we can feel it, etc. The etheric body is one part of us that we share with the plants. So plants have a physical body like the minerals, but they also have a life force body. You know, they are alive, they are living substance. Then we can actually look at a third aspect, which is often referred to as the astral body, or the soul. You can even kind of, in some ways, equate the astral body with the soul. That's that part of us which experiences, drives, desires, wishes, etc., instincts. And so you can see that actually animals, we share that with the animals. The animals also have this astral body, so they're a step above, in a sense, plants. So plants have the physical and the life force, but they don't have the astral. They don't have the desires, wishes, and drives like animals and humans do. And then the one thing that really separates us from the animals is that we have this fourth aspect of the human being, which you might call the I, or the I am, or the true spirit, or the true individuality. And that part of us is really, really complicated. Actually, we could go into great detail. Well, we could go into great detail about all these different aspects of the human being. But this I, this individuality that we are, is that part of us which actually goes on from incarnation to incarnation, if you're willing to be open to the concept of reincarnation. If not, that's absolutely fine. Actually, with anything I say in here, feel free to throw it away or disagree or whatever. So this is just to give you some ideas that you can try on or not. So this I am, this individuality, the Greek word for I is actually ego, or ego in the Greek. And we have a funny relationship to that word these days, because we tend to always think of that in a negative sense, ego. But I think one way to look at it is the ego is, as it says in the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, it's like a two-edged sword. So the ego can turn in on itself and become egotistical, or it can open itself to the spiritual world, to a higher ego, to the higher self. So we've got this part of us which is the individuality, and in many ways we're becoming more and more individual and individualistic, and that's got its good sides and its bad sides. So we can we can use it for the good, to work selflessly in the world for other people, to help other people, etc., or it can completely become materialistic and turn in on itself. So that's really what you can say is egoism. Now, animals are spared that in a way. Animals they act on instinct, and you can't really say that an animal does the wrong thing in a way. They don't really have a sense of morality, so they can't really do the wrong thing. They're just acting on instinct. Whereas human beings, we can willfully do something bad or wrong, by choice. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing to go into, what's right and what's wrong. But yeah, that's the fourfold human being: physical body, etheric body or life body, the astral body, which is the part of us that has wishes and desires and drives, and then the individuality, the ego, the I. And so now, just to look at this in context of what happens actually when we pass away. Now, I can see that a couple of people are asking questions in the comments. Unfortunately, I won't be able to, I actually can't see them properly on here, so I won't be able to answer them as I go, but I'll do my best to come and answer them afterwards, or it might even be tomorrow. But the other thing is, please do join my Facebook group where I do have more time to answer questions. It's called the Staying Connected group. And if there's anyone there who wouldn't mind just putting the link to that in the comments below, that would be great as well. I think Natasha's in that group, and Katie and Guri's in that group as well. So if anyone wants to post the link in there, that would be great. And I can answer questions in there. So looking at this fourfold human being and what actually happens when we die, this can really give us a good understanding, a better understanding about death itself, but also about what we are as human beings. So when we first pass away, the very first thing that takes place is that the etheric body, the life force body, withdraws from the physical body. Or you could say the I am, the astral body, and the etheric body let go of the physical body, and it begins to, in a way, return to the physical world, to go back to the elements, ashes to ashes, as the saying goes. And when that takes place, because the etheric body or the life body is where all of our memories are stored, then what arises before the eye of our soul is the whole life review, which you would have heard about from a lot of people speaking about their near-death experience. So the moment of death, which we could say a lot about that, it's a very beautiful, joyous moment that actually takes place there, where we feel the immense freedom of being freed from the physical body, from the constraints of the physical body. And then what appears before us is our whole life that we just lived before our very eyes. But it's not like a dead picture, like a movie screen. It's like the pictures that we're seeing of our whole life are living. They're living pictures. They're alive in many ways. That lasts for a certain period of time, depending on a lot of different factors, but generally it's between sort of 2, 3, 4 days, depending on our soul constitution and who we are. And then what happens then is we move into a new stage of the process of life after death. And at some point along the way, most people will have this experience of a meeting with a particular being. And that particular being is a being of the most immense love, the most immense knowledge, understanding, wisdom, acceptance, forgiveness, beyond even our comprehension. So we have an experience with this being. Many people, I guess, in depending on where you're from and your cultural background, but in my culture, it's generally considered to be Christ Jesus, this being that passed through life on earth, the death, resurrection, etc. That being is a part of this experience. But other cultures have different names for this particular being. And when that happens, we get the sense of, we really understand deeply how far away we are from that. How, not far away from it, but what I mean is how imperfect we are, I suppose you could say. This being accepts us and comforts us and forgives us and all the great things that we yearn for. But we also get the sense of how imperfect we are compared to these higher spiritual beings. And that leads us into the next phase. Also, I should say that we do connect with our loved ones that have died before us, most certainly. We come back together with them. And that goes on into more and more intimate relationships throughout the course of our journey after death. But just talking at this stage at the moment, we then move into the stage where now our physical body has been let go of, in a sense, but also our etheric body, our life force body, then gets let go of, and it returns to the so-called etheric world which surrounds the earth. And we move into the astral world. And this astral world has different levels that we need to pass through. Levels is a very earthbound term, but I think you'll understand what I mean. And the first stage, in a way, of passing through this, the first stage of the astral world, is we actually live back through our entire lives that we just lived. But we live through that in such a way that we experience everything we caused on earth, in terms of, you know, the joy we caused others, or the pain we caused others, or whatever we caused others. We then experience that from their perspective. So as if we were them. Now this can be sort of difficult to hear. Most of us are going to have things, you know, me included, to things that we're not proud of, that we caused other people. And because the earth is a very special place, it really does have a purpose. We're not here for nothing, and then we just die and we become completely perfect angels. No, there are things on earth that we needed to do, that we needed to learn, we needed to experience. And then we need to reckon with everything we caused. Now the good news is that this is just a period that we need to move through. It's just a stage that we need to move through, that we actually want to move through, because we've seen how far away from perfection we are. And we want to become more and more like the gods. We want to become more and more like the higher beings that are above us, like the angels and the archangels, etc. We want to develop that. So we go through this process willingly, but it doesn't mean it's comfortable. So that generally lasts for quite a long period of time, depending on how long our life was and what we did cause in terms of joy and suffering, and how much there is to live back through. And then, you know, I won't go too much further with that now, but we then do move into higher and higher stages where we become more and more one with loved ones that have died before, more and more at one with the spiritual world itself, with the heavens, with the gods, with the angels, etc. Now, the other thing is that I'll say just before I go on to the final stage of this talk for today, is that we are always continually connected with the earth, even after we've passed away, even right through our whole journey after life, which can take hundreds, and sometimes or even thousands of years before we look towards the earth and reincarnation. And yeah, we want to move through all these different stages, but the further we go through this journey after death, the more and more intimately connected we become with the higher worlds, with the higher part of ourselves, and more intimately connected, but still connected with the earth. So still connected with our loved ones who are on the earth, and we continually work with them and with the earth in more and more subtle ways as we move on, in more and more intimate ways. Sometimes you could actually say we move closer and closer to our loved ones who are still alive. But because it's so subtle, as we become more and more spiritual, it's harder for us here on earth to really sense into it. Some of you might have experienced in the first days after someone's passed away that they feel very, very close and very, very present. But over time that withdraws a little bit, and it can feel like, and people say this often, that it feels like they're moving further and further away from us. But actually, in many ways, they're moving closer and closer to us, more and more intimately connected with us. And so we can begin to work on ourselves and develop ourselves to become aware of this. But the real point I'm coming up to is to say that when our loved ones are going through this initial experience that I've talked about in the lower astral world, of living through their whole life again and having to face and live through what they caused, and how it's not necessarily the most pleasant experience for most of us, we can actually support and help them through this process. Now, not only can we help and support them and in a way nourish them through this process, by doing so, that actually helps them to help us. Now, for those of you who heard me speak before, I'm repeating myself, so forgive me, but I think it's worth repeating. The more we can do that for them and support them through what they're going through, the more they are able to connect and support and inspire us for our daily life here on earth, for our day in, day out stuff that we have to do, for our goals in life, for our relationships, everything that we do here on earth. We can be supported by our loved ones who are in the spiritual world. Now, one way to begin to do this, and this isn't the whole picture, this is just one aspect of it, is by setting aside a short amount of time each day, picturing them as clearly, our loved one who's died, as clearly as we can, maybe bringing to mind a loving memory that we have shared with them, and making it as clear as possible, and also feeling into our heart the love that we have for them and the connection that we know we have with them. And then I suggest actually reading something spiritual from the earthly spiritual wisdom that we have. So whether it's from the Buddhist tradition, from the Bhagavad Gita in the Indian tradition, or whether it's from the New Testament or from the ancient Hebrew documents, something that the spirituality that's developed on the earth, that's tried and true, we can read that to them. We can actually read to them, and that is like a nourishment, that is like a gift that we are offering up from the earth through our own souls to our loved ones who have died. And that nourishes them, that helps them through these difficult moments and allows them to help and support us. Now, I'm not expecting anyone to believe that or to believe anything I say. Don't believe it if you don't resonate with it. That's absolutely fine. But if this is something you're wanting to learn more about, wanting to be able to do yourself, wanting to be able to support your loved ones who've died, wanting to be able to receive that support from them and from the other higher beings who are around us all the time, angels, archangels, archai, and to understand more about that, and also to have some support in doing that, which is very, very important, then I've got a few spots left in the next few days, actually not on the weekend, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for a free session that I offer. So what we do in this session is we have a look at where you're at currently with your spiritual connection, where you ideally want to be. And then if I'm the right person to help, which, I might not be. If I'm not, that's also fine. But if I'm the right person to help, I can help you make a plan for getting there. And I've helped, the reason I say that, I've helped lots and lots of people do this and actually heal through their grief and heal through their suffering and their feelings of loss. Because by doing this, it's actually a healing process. It's a transformative process that we're doing with the help of our loved ones and the spiritual world. So if that sounds interesting to you, please, and that you want support to do that kind of thing, please go over to spiritualscientist.org/call. There's actually a link in the title of this video up the top as well, but maybe someone can type it in for me. Or actually, you know what? Just type yes into the comments, and then I'll go through the comments afterwards and I'll put the link in there. So you go to that link, you enter your email address, it'll send you to a booking page, and you just choose a time that suits you, that works for you. And then I will actually call you at that time that we've arranged, or it'll be a Zoom call, depending on what you specify. And then we'll actually go through this process. And as I say, it's completely free. Of course, some people do go on to work with me. Some people don't, and that's absolutely fine as well. Either way, a lot of people have told me that just that one call, the depth of listening and the depth of understanding that people experience on the call is quite profound for many people. So if you're interested, please go to spiritualscientist.org/call, and I really look forward to speaking to you soon. If you're not quite there yet and not ready to speak to someone, face to face on Zoom or on the phone, I totally understand that, because many people are in a very delicate space having lost someone, and that's very understandable. So if that's the case, I'd just recommend joining my Facebook group, which is the Staying Connected group. And if you don't, the link for that's in the title as well. But if you can't find it, just type Facebook for Facebook group into the comments, and I'll find your comment and I'll send you the link as well. So other than that, I think that's all I wanted to cover today. Thank you very much for joining me. It's really great. This is a really good, healthy amount of people watching live, so that's excellent. And thank you to all those who are also watching the replay later on. And if you have a second, feel free to just make a comment or give it a thumbs up or something like that. It just helps other people see what's going on. But I really appreciate you being there and listening. And if I've missed any of the questions, I think I did see, maybe it was Kathy. Hi Kathy, I think there was a question there. It's gone and I can't see it anymore, so apologies for that. And look, no matter what it is you're going through at the moment, whether it's you're going through experiencing grief yourself and those waves that just come over you in the depth of suffering and loss, I just, whether you book a call with me or someone else, it doesn't matter. I just want to really wish you and send you as much courage and strength and peace and resilience and good wishes that you need to continue, aiming for your goals in life, to continue developing yourself spiritually and continue your healing process. And I know sometimes it feels almost impossible. I've sat with people who are grieving a great deal, and sometimes there's nothing you can say and nothing you can do for the person in that moment. They just need to actually go through it. And someone from the outside saying, hey, look, just think positively, or hey, you should be over it now. None of that is helpful or healthy. We need to honor our suffering. We need to honor what we're going through, and we need to find ways to be able to cope with it, to deal with it, but ultimately to heal. And so whichever way you find to do that, I just want to wish everybody all the best and many blessings. And thank you again for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you back here in the group really soon, or over in my group, the Staying Connected group, or on a call where we get to actually have a chat in person. Thanks again for watching, and blessings to all. Take care.